Buenas tardes para la gente de Argentina. Bueno, mi nombre es Brenda, estoy representando a Axelar en Latinoamérica y a College. Y acá mi compañera Kate está representando al main core de Axelar. Así que por favor, les pido un aplauso para ellas que presentó y que estuvo estudiando un montón para dar este workshop. Así que, you have the mic.
All right. So thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Kate, as mentioned. I'm from Canada, in Toronto. So I will be giving the presentation in English, but any questions, I've got my amazing translator and partner over here, Brenda. So I'm from Axelar. I've been there for just over 3 years now. And yeah, I'm going to do kind of a non-technical intro to Axelar, but if anyone here is a developer, is a builder, wants to learn more, definitely come see me afterwards and we can get into the code and kind of the more dev-heavy side afterwards. So I always like to ask this question: who has been in crypto for more than 5 years here? Okay, so kind of the beginning, right, of crypto, you had very few projects. So building things like bridges made sense because you really had Bitcoin, Ethereum, and those were kind of the big ones. So building bridges from one to the other made sense because there was really two dominant ecosystems, towards the end, 2017, 3 or 4. Then, from 2017 to 2020, we had a lot more projects, hit the scene. And this is when bridging became difficult, right? Because you had more than 2 or 3 projects, that you were bridging. You now had, 5, 10. And so the bridge from project A to project B, didn't then talk to bridge, project C. You had to go through all of these hops to connect all of these networks. Now, we've got even more projects. There's so many layer 1s, layer 2s that bridging just doesn't make sense anymore, right? There's no way to securely and in a user optimized way bridge between all the ecosystems, all the use cases, all the layer 1s and layer 2s that we see today. And then with this interoperability issue, right, with this kind of bridging issue that we're seeing, there's so many limitations that are introduced to the space, right? It's not secure. When I say all of these bridges, you have chain A, you have chain B, and then you build a bridge to chain C, but now chain A can't talk to chain C. It has to go through that hop in the middle. And the more bridges you add, the more centralized hops you add to that user experience, which creates a lot of security issues. 5 of the 5, top DeFi hacks have been bridges. It also doesn't scale. Like I said, building all of these manual connections to all of the different blockchains, you can't keep up with all of the new chains we're seeing, with all the new use cases that, are being introduced to the ecosystem almost every day. And also from a developer side, you have to deploy and maintain contracts on every one of these chains. The more chains you add, the more difficulty this is, and, the more opportunities for bugs in the code, for hackers to come and exploit those bugs, that grows as well. Lastly, it's not easy to use. The user experience, it's not very intuitive, especially if you're coming from the Web 2 world into the Web 3 world, having to bridge from this chain to this chain, use this wallet, switch it, using this application. It doesn't make sense, and it's a really kind of, it's a turnoff for users because it's so complicated, and they're just going to go back to Web 2 and use the systems that they understand. From a developer perspective as well, working across all of these blockchains is painful because there's not really universal protocols, to connect all of these chains seamlessly. So you've got complex developer processes. From the back end, it's really difficult for builders to add seamless interoperability across all of the different ecosystems that they want to access. Also, that translates into the front end because you have really painful user interactions, right? Going from wallet to wallet, sending, your ERC20 token to a Cosmos wallet, losing it, not having gas fees. I'm sure people here can relate to that. What it also does is it fragments liquidity. So you have some liquidity here, it doesn't translate to this chain, it doesn't translate to that chain, and it's really difficult to aggregate liquidity and access liquidity from the front end and also create those pools on the back end. Also composability, I'll get into this in a little bit, but it's not just about sending tokens, it's about sending information, right? So you can't compose across the different blockchains, so it really limits you in terms of what you're able to build. Limited coverage, like I said, all the different wallets that you need, And it also creates siloed communities, you know. I think we're moving away from tribalism, but definitely, you know, in years of past, there was, you know, very tribal kind of ETH maxis, Bitcoin maxis, you know, and, you know, I think we're moving towards a future where we don't need to have, you know, that sort of tribalism once you can access any blockchain, you know, from any application. So that's kind of where Axelar comes in, you know. I've talked about the, you know, the limitations with bridging, with the traditional ways of, you know, connecting chains. So what Axelar does is, you know, we offer full stack interoperability built on decentralized proof of stake security. So I'll break that down. But basically, from a developer perspective, we thought, why do developers have to have all of these trade-offs? Why do you have to use, you know, this ecosystem and trade off maybe the liquidity or the user base of that one because there's lower fees? So our idea is, you know, from allowing developers to create these really powerful applications, they can then enable users to interact with any asset on any application on any chain with one click. So how do we do that? You know, we offer a really powerful infrastructure and protocol-based interoperability network on the back end to offer full stack interoperability, right? We've got a complete stack of SDKs and services, so you can build across multiple blockchains securely and easily, and you can build dApps across hundreds of chains as they operate on a single one. So essentially, Axelar is a blockchain that connects blockchains. This allows network effects, right? These many-to-many connections are so important because with pairwise connections, it's one-to-one. So one has to go to one-to-one. For us, it's any-to-any. So any of our 60 connected chains can seamlessly connect with any of our other 60 connected chains thanks to the network that we're building. And this also allows kind of out-of-the-box integration, right? New connections are automatically interoperable with all the chains that we've already connected without having to build different contract addresses, you know, or from a developer side without having to really do anything other than connect to the network. We also have, you know, I think, the most secure solution. So, like I said, we're a blockchain that connects blockchains, and in the middle, we have 75 validator set that's fully permissionless. So to enter the set, it's not permissioned, you just have to get enough stake to enter the active set, and this secures the network. So everything is on chain, there's no federated multi-sig element, there's nothing off chain, it's all on chain, and it's all secured by our decentralized validator set, like I said, that anyone can join. Ultimately, you know, this is, you know, empowering developers to create this one-click experience, right? By giving developers really powerful tools on the back end, our hope is that this can translate to the front end to give users that Web 2-like experience to really kind of onboard them and give them, you know, a reason to come from Web 2 into Web 3. So, full stack interoperability. Build once, run everywhere. You know, what does this mean? What it means for us is we're offering SDKs and APIs that are really, really easy to integrate into the back end. So say you build an application, you know, on Avalanche, an NFT marketplace, because the fees there are really, you know, really low compared to Ethereum. But it doesn't have the liquidity in the user base of Ethereum. By integrating Axelar into the back end, you're able to mint NFTs, you know, or mint assets, whatever, on the Avalanche network and bring them into the Ethereum network seamlessly. I'll get into these services in a little bit, but we also offer developers really seamless services like relaying, manual relaying, one-click gas, and monitoring. I'll get into that in a bit. All of this comes together, you know, on the Axelar network, which offers connections, routing, and translation. So for anyone who's, you know, kind of a security nerd or, you know, cryptography nerd, in Web 2, you know, this is always how I like to kind of bridge the gap, is that we spent 30 years building protocols, right? Protocol-based networks, routing layers, translation layers in Web 2, right? We have Border Gateway Protocol, TCP/IP. So we spent 30 years or so building out those, you know, connections and that infrastructure, and then we started building, you know, use cases in the early 2000s. We kind of did the opposite in crypto. You know, we built out a whole bunch of use cases, and now with the limitations of bridging and interoperability, we're really seeing the need for, you know, this kind of very concerted approach to building infrastructure similar to Web 2, but specifically tailored for Web 3. So I've mentioned this before, but Axelar is one-to-end connectivity between chains. So once a network is connected, once a chain is connected, it can seamlessly connect to all the other ones through the network. So, we're fully composable across, the EVM ecosystem, the IBC ecosystem, that's Cosmos network. And these connections are made at the network layer, right? So this is a very kind of fundamental, building block that's missing in crypto is this network layer, right? The translation layer, the routing layer. Basically, there's a bunch of airports, but there's no planes flying in between them, right? There's a bunch of cities, but there's no highways. So we're building out those highways. Asset and message transfers as well. It's not just about sending assets, it's also about sending information, right? So querying state across different blockchains, sending tokens, but also sending information with those contract calls as well. So this is the Axelar tech stack. This is kind of a very brief overview of what it looks like under the hood. So you have all these applications, right? Avalanche, Cosmos, Polkadot, Ethereum. And then you have the gateways. So these are gateway contracts that Axelar has written on every single chain that these calls go through. So the network acts as the transport layer, the translation layer, and these gateways are where the calls are sent to arrive on opposite chains or wherever you want to send them. And this is secured by Axelar's cross-chain gateway protocol. Like I said, protocol-based interoperability is key to get away from bridging and really build secure infrastructure that can scale. So this is where you have the network, the network of validators that come in. They reach consensus, right? They use multi-party computation to come to an agreement of, yes, this is a good call, we're going to approve it, or no, this is a bad call, we're going to reject it. And everything is voted on-chain. There's no off-chain element, so every call can be seen, verified, and is secured, like I said, by our validator set. So, as I mentioned before, it's not just about...
Before start with general message passing,
Yeah.
can I say something?
Yeah.
Chicos, dejen el celular y préstenme atención. De ustedes, ¿quién es el primer evento de blockchain? Levanten la mano. El primer evento de cripto en el que asisten. Levanten la mano. Quiero que más de uno me levante la mano, por favor, miéntanme. Bueno, ¿vieron qué difícil y qué complicado es entender esto? ¿Vieron qué difícil es entender el código? ¿Vieron qué difícil que es estudiar? Justamente por eso de ahí salen los buenos trabajos, ¿no? En este ecosistema. Porque es muy difícil entender el código y demás. Bueno, les quiero contar un poco, y se los quiero contar en criollo, ya que yo soy una comunicadora y mi trabajo es hacer que sea más fácil de entender, y un poco lo que está haciendo Axelar. Vieron que blockchain nació para, de alguna manera, solucionar un problema que tenemos en la sociedad, que es justamente, por ejemplo, les doy el ejemplo de Argentina, nosotros no podemos comprar dólares, nosotros tenemos un montón de tipos de cambio, pero nosotros no tenemos acceso a dólares. En su momento teníamos, como ciudadanos, podíamos comprar $200, pero después no hay empresas de afuera, estamos como medio como en una burbuja y vivimos en un país que como muchos de Latinoamérica es un país emergente y que está sufriendo una hiperdevaluación. Bueno, ¿qué quiero decir con esto? Volviendo al tema de blockchain. Blockchain está creciendo, con el tiempo va creciendo, se van sumando más proyectos al ecosistema. ¿Y qué sucede ahora? Bueno, ahora tenemos problemas con blockchain, tenemos problemas con la interoperabilidad, con que otras blockchains se conecten con otras blockchains, con que justamente los devs, los que están construyendo, puedan construir en diferentes blockchains y no sea difícil. Entonces, lo que está haciendo Axelar es justamente, antes de que existan las autopistas, ¿qué hay que hacer? Hay que crear la infraestructura para que después los autos puedan pasar. Entonces, un poco lo que está haciendo el trabajo de Axelar es generar toda esa estructura para que el día de mañana, si alguno de ustedes se quiere dedicar a programar, o de hecho hay un montón de carreras, por ejemplo la mía, que soy una comunicadora y es simplemente tratar de dar los mensajes de alguna manera más fácil y entendible, justamente, bueno, es eso lo que estamos haciendo con Axelar. Y ahora sí, mi amiga acá va a continuar con uno de los features más importantes que actualmente tiene Axelar. Así que presten la atención, dejen el celular, que esto es importante. You can continue.
Yeah, what she said. So general message passing is a really kind of important and exciting thing that Axelar also offers. Like I said, sending assets across chain is one thing, but being able to send information across chain, is really key to being able, like I said, to build out similar Web 2 use cases in Web 3. So basically, what makes general message passing so powerful is that instead of moving assets to compute, you move compute to where assets are. So this is what general message passing looks like. This is our little mascot, the axolotl. So basically, right away you pay. All right, sorry about that. So right away you pay gas, and with this, a really cool feature of general message passing is if I want to send, some Ethereum to Cosmos, I don't need to hold the AXL token, and I don't need to hold, say, the Atom token. All I need to do is hold Ethereum, and what Axelar does under the hood is it takes that, it estimates a gas fee, and it takes that, the source token, transfers it into AXL to get it across the network, to translate it and relay it, pays, the validators, and at the end, the destination chain, it transfers it into the, the destination token to pay gas on the destination chain. So from a developer perspective, all the routing and the translation is securely done under the hood, and from a user perspective, this, gets away from the need to hold a bunch of different tokens, to find where the liquidity is to buy those, and it does it all for you. So, like I said, the gas estimates are calculated right away, before you even send it. So you can say, okay, this looks like a good time to send it, or I'm going to wait because Ethereum mainnet gas fees are out of control right now. And then through the through the Axelar network, it routes it through these gateways. Like I said, these gateway contracts that we write on every chain. The Axelar network in the in the middle. It relies on our set of validators to call contract with token, right? So sending funds, but also sending this information. And the validators prepare a signed command, right? So send from this chain to this chain, translate, pay gas, and return whatever logic you want to execute on the destination chain. So this payload, it can be sending tokens, but it can also be sending information, which is really important when you're building out the next generation of use cases, that not only can you go cross-chain securely, and easily, you can go cross-chain by sending, messages and information as well, right? Sending logic across-chain, querying different states of different blockchains to build, some sort of financial product. So, and like I said at the beginning, the really core tenet of Axelar and, our kind of reason for existing is to give these, developers really powerful tools to build out really powerful products, right? So like I said, gas services, you can prepay the entire gas, fees from the Axelar network to the source chain, from the source chain to the destination chain. And also Axelar doesn't charge a bridging fee, it just charges a relay fee to get the transaction across the network. There's these relay services, right? You can run a validator and be in the active set if you accumulate enough stake. You can also run nodes and, and relay services yourself to manually execute, and get transactions across the network as well. And we've got transaction, monitoring. We've got something called Axelar Scan, which is a really great kind of one-stop shop to see everything on the network, from the app, the validators in the active set to all the, the transactions. And I'll drop the link at the end, but yeah, it's called axelarscan.io, and you can basically see everything that's going on, on the Axelar network at any time. Also on kind of the developer side, our SDK and our APIs are really, really easy to integrate into the back end of your project, and really act as building blocks for interchain application, right? You're a developer, you have a use case, you have an idea. You don't want to have to think about cross-chain. You don't want to have to think about the security and the complexity of building bridges, and you shouldn't, right? That's what we're here for. So you can compose DeFi across different chains. So Squid is a swapping and a routing app built on Axelar. So again, this one-click transaction. You can take an application, swap it for another one really seamlessly. You can buy NFTs from any marketplace, send them to another ecosystem, play a game on another chain, without signing transactions or downloading wallets. So it really enables you, like I said, and I know I keep going back to this, but to have Web 2 experiences in Web 3. We also interchain tokens, right? You can take a token that already exists, or you can mint a token through Axelar's portal, and you can instantly deploy it across 16 EVM chains that we've already connected. So this gives instant fungibility for that existing token or a new token. So the ability to issue interchain tokens, everyone here can do it. There'll be links at the end. But basically, anyone can go interchain, and our whole thing is that we do the hard work on the back end so that users can play around with it and, one, understand it, and two, start to build products, that also let anyone go interchain. So yeah, basically that's the kind of the pitch, right? With Axelar, it's easy to build interchain native apps. So we really think of ourselves as, the next gen interoperability solution for blockchain, so that we don't have to go through bridging. We don't have to go through all of these siloed user experiences, and we can start to build out really powerful applications. This is, the kind of the end goal, right? Everything can be interchain native, right? Your project, your token, whatever, can span the entirety of Web3 seamlessly, powered by, Axelar's decentralized interoperability, like I said. That's such a key part of Axelar as well, is that it's fully decentralized by our 75 validator set. Everything on the network, from network upgrades to community proposals, gets voted on by the people that have staked their AXL token to the validators and the validators themselves. And again, this gives composability across chains of tokens as well as information to ultimately enable really simple user interactions and really, powerful user experiences. Oh, I guess this didn't load. Yeah, I mentioned Squid. It's a really cool application, swapping application. It's actually, I think, at 41 blockchains now. So it's a really cool example of something being built on top of Axelar that creates an even better user experience, because you can swap tokens. There's liquidity built into the back end by connecting with, I think, 5 or 6 different dexes. Oh, there we go. Oh. Anyways, this was meant to be a video, but you can check it out. It's just squidrouter.com. Play around with it. It's really fun. They also have great branding, and their team is awesome. And this proof of stake security, right? This is, I'm going back to this again, but it's so important to have everything be on-chain, everything be verifiable, everything be decentralized. You look at some of the competitors, there's all different approaches to it, but we do believe that we're the most secure and the most decentralized, by leveraging the 75 validator set. And within the 75 validator set, we get questions of, well, can I just accumulate a whole ton of stake and push transactions through? We actually have quadratic voting, right? So your stake, it's basically the square root is taken. So the more stake you accumulate, technically, your voting power goes down to keep it even across the board. We also have mandatory key rotations, so the validators have to rotate keys periodically. We have rate limits, right? So if somebody was able to compromise a chain, once they hit the rate limit, it's no-go from there. So there's not the ability to just drain wallets or drain, a whole ton of assets. Yeah. I mentioned these rate limits, validator key rotations. We also have audits. I think we're close to 40 audits now. And we have running bug bounties, so if there's any hackers in the room, if you find a bug, we'll get you rewarded.
Esto es importante, ¿eh? Esto es importante. Acá lo que estaba... ¿Puedes volver? Can you go back to the slide?
Yeah.
Bueno, ¿saben lo que es un bug bounty? Bueno, acá hay un programa que es para encontrar algún bug, algún issue que tenga Axelar, y acá se dieron 2.5 millones para aquellos programadores que encuentren problemas en la red de Axelar. Y es por eso también que justamente este número, por eso también es tan importante la seguridad en Axelar. Y por eso es ese número. Así que, chicos, presten atención, que estamos construyendo el futuro. Y para todos aquellos que estén interesados en aprender, se pueden acercar a nosotros. Nosotros somos parte de la comunidad de Axelar Latam. Para los que hablan en inglés, está la main community de la main comunidad de Axelar, así que se pueden unir y pueden preguntar cualquier duda que tengan.
Okay. That means that you never have issue in Axelar.
Have we been hacked? No. I mean, we definitely have had people, there have been bug bounties submitted. we get them paid out and then we immediately fix the code. But, there's been no major issues. We've not been hacked. There's been no downtime. Security is really kind of how we've designed our systems from day one. So yeah, we've, touch wood, there's been no issues. And if there are, like I said, there's things like rate limits, and other security measures to make sure that the damage is really minimized. So yeah, this is Axelar today. Over $8 billion of transaction volume has been processed. I think we actually just hit 10. There's more than, we just hit 60 supported blockchains. So, that's been exciting. And like I said, there's these 75, active validators. Yeah, like I said, I know we've got Chainlink here, so I won't really get into this slide, but, we do think that we are the most decentralized, and we also do offer, the most connected chains, but we'll slide past that one. So anyways, to wrap up, Axelar is a blockchain that connects blockchains with security and decentralization first by running a delegated proof of stake network secured by 75 validators with, security measures in place like rate limits and quadratic voting to make sure that, we offer users the most secure, decentralized experience and empower developers, to build out the next generation of interoperable applications. So yeah, any questions? I can take some questions, yeah.
I actually have 2 questions.
Okay.
At the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned something about liquidity scarcity, how everything is
fragmented.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, by using Axelar, do we get to see all of our ETHs in one place, all of our DAIs in one place, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Basically, we're the infrastructure,
Okay.
right? So it allows developers to tackle that issue,
Okay.
right? To say, I can aggregate my liquidity here by building out a wallet or a pool or a lending or a swapping application. So we're not building the applications, but we're giving developers the ability to address those issues and solve them.
Got it, thanks. And the second question is, do you have any resources in Spanish that we can share with local developers? Brenda.
Claro que sí, claro que sí. Puedes venir, puedes unirte a la comunidad. Estamos en Telegram, estamos en X, como Axelar Latam. Y en Telegram igual tenemos muchos artículos traducidos al español. Así que si tienen alguna duda de cómo crearse una wallet en Axelar, de cómo integrar Axelar a su proyecto y demás, estamos todo el día pendientes, estamos con la comunidad de devs también, que si quizás yo no puedo contestar alguna pregunta, tenemos a toda una comunidad detrás que está construyendo también en Axelar y que habla en español. Y si no, acá tenemos a la reina de Axelar. También tenemos webinars, workshops que los tenemos subidos a YouTube. En Axelar también nos pueden encontrar como Axelar Latam en YouTube.
Gracias.
Right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys for being such a wonderful audience and for the opportunity to talk about Axelar with you guys.
Por favor, aplausos para Kate.